Well, today was a very interesting day. What normally happens coming out of a holiday weekend, holidays in general, but especially a holiday weekend, is that the market continues to go up for at least a couple of hours beyond where it closed going into the holiday weekend, and in many cases actually continues to go up for a couple of days or so beyond where it closed going into the holiday weekend. That did not happen this time. The market closed. The market opened way down this morning, Dow down by hundreds of points, and they spent the day basically just fighting their way back up again very slowly. Okay? And they did manage to get back up to 33,000 on the Dow in the afternoon, and then actually briefly made it back up to zero, back up to where they closed going into the weekend. Didn't hold there for long. Then they came back down to 33,000 and were just desperately hanging on to that for quite a while. Near the end of the day, it actually started accelerating down again. They managed to pop it up again at the last minute in a desperate attempt to close above Dow 33,000 yet after all, but couldn't hold it all the way into the close. It ended up coming back down again at the very last moment and closed below Dow 33,000. Okay, they could not hold it into the close. So the bottom line is the waveform did what it often and even typically does on the day after a holiday weekend, but none of it was above zero to speak of. Okay, it was all below zero, way below zero at first. They did make it up to zero briefly, didn't hold it there for very long, and the trading after that was all significantly below zero as well, and the Dow closed down well more than 200 points lower than it did on Friday. That does not mean it was a massive downturn in that sense, because all they really did was chop off the tail end of the up move on Friday. You know, the big run-up going into the close to try to squeeze every last drop out of it again, especially going into a weekend and especially going into a holiday weekend. But the overall trading today was well below that, and even at the end, they didn't get those last drops out of it anymore. They're gone for now. Okay, so my point is it was a very weak market still again today, much weaker than usual. Okay, it's a continuation of the overall trend of recent times, and it looks like that will continue, but it remains to be seen exactly how it'll play itself out over the next day or two, because it was an upward trend intraday for the most part, although it was below zero. And they're going to try mighty hard to hang on. I'm sure of that. Okay. The crypto is barely just hanging on too. They did manage to drive it back above 30,000 on Bitcoin as the reference point, but it spent a lot of time below that level lately. So I suspect this is just a kind of an emergency bounce, so to speak. I don't mean that in any official way. Okay. And as for Europe, you know, they were basically just hanging on too, and once the American market opened way below zero, it dragged Europe down again too, and because Europe didn't close before the American market really started going up again this morning, basically Europe was dragged down pretty hard in the process too, down a ways as well. It remains to be seen how Europe will react to the rest of what happened today, bearing in mind the market in America did close below zero and substantially below, so they won't have a huge amount of upward push inherent there for tomorrow's trading in Europe either, added to by the fact that the Europeans have now, as of today, come to an agreement on severely limiting or even basically eliminating oil imports from Russia, which the oil market interpreted as a supply disruption. In other words, Europe is going to have to get its oil from someplace else. Okay, so that's going to limit the effective supply of oil in the market, and American oil promptly shot up to $117 a barrel, which is not going to help the American stock market a whole lot either. So the bottom line is, for the time being, things are barely hanging on. Not as well as they typically do coming out of a holiday weekend, as noted at the beginning of this message. And I suspect that that isn't going to hold on a whole lot longer. That isn't going to last a whole lot longer. So, but take it a day at a time. It's all we can do under the circumstances in a law against recessions environment. So, we'll just have to see what the next few days bring and see how that adds in with the rest of what's happened so far. But the bottom line is, today was not a strong day at all. It was much weaker than most Tuesdays coming out of a long weekend in America are. Okay, so we'll see what happens tomorrow and the next day, add that to it, and then also see what happens Thursday and Friday, and as a follow-on or continuation to that, and see how things go from there. But it does not look good overall. We'll see how quickly things develop. I have a feeling it's going to be pretty quickly, but we will see. The reality is ultimately all that matters. So we'll go from there, see what happens tomorrow, and I'll do a video if appropriate. No, it'll be another day or two after that probably. We'll see.